If you've ever dumped rounds into nothing at the range, but you're good enough at video that it still looks like you're a skilled shooter, guys, hit that subscribe button. Ladies, gentlemen, my often forgotten, but certainly not by me, guys who run the AUG. I saw your comments on that last video. You all said the AUG was perfect. Is the AUG perfect? We'll see. Time will tell. Welcome back to the channel. All right, guys, so we are obviously not Grand Thumb. I just wanted to make a really fun video to go over this rifle build. I think there's this unspoken rule here on YouTube where people who are trying to grow will either consciously or subconsciously mimic the style of the creators at the very top. And, you know, a lot of people don't want to admit that. Well, I just wanted us to be 100% honest, admit it, make a joke out of it, and then be the best at it, you know? All that to say, Mike, dude, I hope you thought that was funny. This background isn't even black, by the way. I am completely lying to you all. All right, guys, I want to thank the main sponsor of this video, Off-Grid Warehouse. Off-Grid Warehouse is an online provider that supplies a ton of really quality brands like North American Rescue and many others. You can get IFAKs, you can get tactical equipment, you can get tons of medical supplies, wound simulations. Just visit their website. You don't even have to buy anything. Just check them out. Go through the link in the description of this video or in the pinned comment and use the code BASECAMP to get 10% off on anything you buy at the store. But again, a huge thank you to Off-Grid Warehouse for helping us out in our YouTube journey so far. All right, that is much better. Let's go ahead and get on with this. So some of you might know this already, but this project, I hesitate to use the term premium, but this was meant to be my first nice AR-15 build. I took my sweet time with this build, but all in all, I put this together over the span of about 5 months. After a little bit more trial and error than originally anticipated, I now have something that I feel confident using as my new primary rifle for all of the training and the fun shooting we do, because again, we don't do anything real. This is a hobby. Let's be honest, it's probably a hobby for you too watching this. Yeah, don't think of it as you are bringing the rifle up, you're pushing out. But this is a nice rifle. I like it. Let's go over it. So in the spirit of the video, we are obviously gonna go tip to butt. Did you not think we were gonna go tip to butt? That's absurd. So starting off at the tip here, we have a mini 3-prong muzzle device from Rearden. It is a Plan B interface. One thing to note is that the entire upper receiver of this rifle was built and assembled by Focus Trip. So his company, I believe, is Focus Shooting. This dude makes pretty good uppers. If you want a duty grade, nice upper for a relatively very affordable price, I would highly recommend going with him. So moving back just an inch on this barrel, you'll see one of the most important parts of this build, which is that this includes the rifle speed adjustable gas block. This is something I requested Focus Trip put on this upper. The original intent for this rifle was for it to run with an FRT 100% of the time. I have since moved away from that, and I will talk about that in much more detail when we come to the lower receiver portion of this rifle. But the rifle speed gas block, for those of you that are unaware, is an incredibly easy way to adjust the gas of your rifle. So you have this cylindrical knob that sits above your barrel that you are able to just get in and twist with your fingers. And in the event it is too hot to touch with your hand, that's what gloves are for. So I have found through all of my tuning that this rifle is perfectly gassed on 7 out of 12. Now, a rifle lives or dies by its barrel, and for that reason, I went with a Geissele 14.5-inch cold hammer forged, chrome lined, non-pin and welded barrel. The accuracy I have gotten out of this so far is superb. I'll be quite honest with you, I don't have the budget of Grand Thumb. It's probably for everyone's best interest that I don't at this point. So I've been shooting a lot of remanufactured kind of bargain bin ammo. Even with that ammo, I've been able to get groups as tight as 1.2 MOA at 100 yards. I should have a photo of that I can put up on the screen. All that to say, this Geissele barrel, I have been so impressed of what I am getting out of a 14.5. Now, moving back, you will note that we have a quad rail. This is a 13-inch KAK quad rail. It has QD on either side. One of the most important things I told Focus Trip about this build is that a quad rail is absolutely necessary. Why, you might ask? The quad rails tend to be much heavier than M-LOK. It's purely for the vibes. Now, why not M-LOK? Well, M-LOK definitely is more modern. I personally think you cannot beat the vibe of a quad rail, and I personally have the opinion that quad rails are a little bit more durable, albeit you do sacrifice a little bit in the weight category. But At the end of the day, this was a purely aesthetic choice. I like the look, it's my build. You can do whatever you want. You might notice that apart from this Magpul foregrip, this is SBR by the way, this rifle is naked. There is a reason for that. I plan on putting a light and a laser aiming device on this rail, but this is hopefully the rifle I'm going to be running for a tactical game style competition here in, oh my gosh, the next month. So for that reason, I wanted to keep this relatively slick because like I said, I'm already compromising on weight a little bit due to the rail. So for that reason, I do just want to keep this a little bit slick for the competition, kind of min-max my weight in any little way that I can.
Dude.
But the ultimate plan for this rifle is to include a light as well as a laser aiming device. So that will all come together in the future and I am very excited about it. For the bolt carrier group, we have a very reliable but unexciting, basically mil-spec bolt from AO Precision. This thing has stood up well. I cannot call this a review. I do not feel comfortable reviewing any weapon that I have not been able to spend quite some time with. It doesn't matter really to me about the round count as it does living with a rifle, living with a weapon, because there's quirks you pick up over time, in addition to durability, how it does at high round counts. You just notice things after running something for a very long time that you wouldn't even if you dump 5,000 rounds in a day.
Hits on second target were not good.
Now, one of the exciting parts on this build is that the lower receiver is actually an Aero Precision M4E1 Pro B lower. Now, these things are a little bit difficult to find, what with the state of Aero Precision. So to the guy that set me up with this, you know who you are. Thank you so much. This is a fully ambidextrous lower. So in addition to obviously the mag catch, the safety, we do have a bolt catch, bolt release on both sides of the rifles, which makes it incredibly easy to operate. Now, is this something I take advantage of every time I shoot? No, it is not. However, it is a very, very nice feature to have on this lower receiver. I am a big fan of full ambi. My favorite rifle that has implemented the full ambi, it would be in the style of the SIG LT lowers. I do prefer having that little catch bar right here you can just push down on. That is a little bit more intuitive for me as a naturally right-handed shooter, but this certainly does the trick. Now, right here at the back of the rifle, we have the Breek Sledgehammer charging handle. This is, I guess, kind of considered a gas-busting charging handle, but focus trip threw this in there. It has been one of my favorite charging handles I have used. It has beat out the couple Radians that I have used. It is so easy to operate. There is no struggle at all charging this weapon from either side. This thing is great. Now let's talk briefly about furniture. For the stock, I did go with a B5. I did rattle can this entire build. If you were curious, the reason I didn't rattle can the lower is I thought it looked cool with a painted upper and a bare lower. If you disagree, paint your own rifle. I don't really know what to say about that. It's a free country. I can do whatever the hell I want. The B5 stock. So I like these B5 stocks quite a bit. They're a little chunky and you still can get a good purchase in your shoulder, but the reason I like the chunk is I find it does a pretty decent job at balancing out the rifle of where the weight wants to sit. That was a big problem I had, one of the big problems I had with my Spear LT, which I still own, still shoot a lot. The bladed skeletonized stocks, yeah, they look super cool, but what you run into is it contributes to an already front-heavy rifle being even more front-heavy because there's nothing on the back to balance it out. So the B5 stuff, I just love. It's not bad to look at either. You've, of course, got all your adjustability for length of pull. Now let's talk the grip. I went with the DF Kung Fu grip. I think these grips look phenomenal. They are personally very comfortable for me to shoot, and this little cutout for your finger, it's just a good looking grip. I really like the straight up and down angle for rifle grips, and funny enough, with handguns, I like shooting Glocks.
That was my best run of the...
Double hit A's on the first target.
So complete 180, but for me, I think these grips are great. They're affordable. I have them on a lot of my setups. Let's now talk about one of the more interesting things I wanted to do with this rifle build and how it really just didn't work for me, and I ended up just ditching it completely, the FRT. So right here, we have the Delta Team Tactical 3-position FRT. I was running this FRT in this lower long before I had the upper. I tested it with multiple different uppers, and it ran really well in 16-inch uppers. I probably put about 1,000 rounds through this FRT before it was implemented into this rifle. The implementation of this FRT was one of the main reasons I decided to go with the rifle speed adjustable gas block. I knew that there were going to be tuning issues.
Bolt's not locking back. Not enough. All right, so that's too much.
So because of that, I wanted to be able to just adjust that gas as easily as I possibly could. Now, before you ask, I was using an H3 buffer. And for my periodic testing here and there, it worked really good. But once I permanently put this upper receiver onto the lower, that's kind of when I started to have some problems. The same thing would happen every time. I would start the day with a perfectly functioning rifle. It was gassed perfectly at 7 out of 12. I noticed at first that if I wanted to run it on the FRT setting, the bolt wouldn't lock back unless I gassed it up to 8. The bolt would lock back in normal semi on 7. So, you know, a little bit OCD, but who cares about one step of adjustment? However, what ended up happening every single time over 5 separate outings is that I would say the first 75 to 100 shots of the day would go flawlessly. But then I would decide to flip it into the FRT setting, have some fun with the boys, mag dump into trash, all that fun stuff, and it just wouldn't cycle. I tried this with different ammo, with different mags, and I would get maybe 2 to 3 shots off, and then it just wouldn't work. As soon as that happened, the rifle would not cycle in semi.
It's ejecting. Half.
And so this resulted in a rifle that would run really, really well for about 100 rounds, and then anything past 150, 200 rounds in the day, the rifle would not cycle, and this is even with me gassing it all the way open to 12 out of 12. Even though starting the day gassed at about 7 or 8 out of 12, it would run flawlessly. So every single time I would take the thing home, I would break it open, I would deep clean it, and then it would be rinse and repeat. The same thing would happen. It would start working really, really well the next day, and then it would just crap the bed and not work at all around the 175 round count for the day. And I inspected everything on this rifle. I mean, I took apart the gas system. I looked at everything. I was terrified I had a clogged gas port. That was not the issue. So what I ended up doing is I ended up just calling it quits on the FRT and dropping in a Geisley SSAE. I believe this is the one with the lightning cut, the lightning bow, whatever they call it.
The FRT is like novel.
So you can, there are documented conversions for the Geisley SSAE2 for a super safety. That's one of the like 3 aftermarket triggers that are designed, like that are documented to work with it.
See, but I don't love the super safety because I am really used to this.
Yeah,
Which,
that's fair.
skill issue.
This thing runs like an absolute dream. Yeah, that's great. In my gut, I felt like the FRT was the problem, and that seems to have been the case. I have since obviously gone back to an H1 buffer, and now, after further testing, this rifle runs perfectly at, surprise, surprise, 7 out of 10. Granted, I've only had the chance to put about 400 to 500 rounds through it since I made that adjustment. I haven't had any malfunctions except for one, which was because of the crappy ammo I was using. Now, what were the problems with this FRT? Honestly, it could be a lot of things. To be quite honest, I am not a gunsmith. I only have a degree in broadcast journalism and cinematography. I do not have a degree from the Sonoran Desert Institute. So can I tell you exactly what's going on in this? Probably not. It's kind of black magic to me. All I know is that it started working perfectly once this was taken out.
Jams. So, FRT, it's a fun range toy, but that's kind of it.
Honestly, I kind of just think that the machine spirit in my rifle was really displeased with this FRT. I was maybe asking too much of it. So as soon as I took this out and have sacrificed it, it works great. FRTs are super fun. I am super pro FRT, but I do have to acknowledge that the technology is kind of in its infancy right now. And so there are going to be a little bit of problems here and there. I don't know if it is the fitment between the Aero Pro lower and the trigger. I don't know if it's the fact that the bolt loses a little bit of energy when it goes back and has to activate that trip bar or the nub, you know what it is. But the FRT just wasn't working. So I really, really hope that FRT technology continues to grow, evolve, develop, just maybe with like different companies and brands. But as of right now, it just didn't work.
0.90, but nope, that's C.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Now, let's move up to the optics on this rifle. You will notice right now that I am running an LPVO, and all of the footage of me using this rifle, of the guys using this rifle, of us running drills, it's with the Vortex Huey with the 6x magnifier. I personally suck with LPVOs. I have a ton of time behind holographic sights and magnifiers. I don't have a lot of time behind LPVOs. They're great, I need to get better with them. I'm just not fast with them yet like I am with a holographic sight. So why did I swap it out? Well, it's because the competition that I'm gonna be running, the stages are gonna see us shooting from between 50 and 500 yards. And having a 1 to 10 LPVO, it's gonna be helpful. Additionally, this LPVO, while not the best in the world, and I am gonna talk about that, because it is a 6-hour product. Objectively, it does have a BDC reticle, whereas with a holo sight with a magnifier, you just still get your normal reticle. So when shooting out to 450, 500 yards, this is actually gonna help me a lot when it comes to windage and elevation and knowing my holds at distance. Now, the SIG Tango 1 to 10 is certainly one of the LPVOs of all time. And this is where we get into a funny territory, whereas I am probably not the person you should listen to for advice on what rifle to buy. I know a thing or two about glass. I'm a professional cinematographer and I own about 30 lenses. Holy crap, I own 30 lenses. Those range from anamorphic primes to Zeiss Cinema primes to just normal Canon L glass. I know a thing or two about optics. Now, I would say from about 1 to 6 power, this is fine. There's nothing special. The clarity on the 1x, it does seem pretty true to life. Now, anything past that 6x, especially around 8 to 10, 10 is obviously the worst. You do notice a drop off in clarity, things get a little bit fuzzy, and there's quite a bit of chromatic aberration present. Quick little lesson, chromatic aberration, so in the footage in the intro video, we filmed that on some vintage anamorphic lenses. The chromatic aberration is when light bends around the subject, and what that results in is on the edges, you get a little bit of blue on this side and a little bit of red on this side. When it comes to vintage camera lenses, that's sometimes a desirable trait depending on the project I'm shooting. When it comes to looking through an optic and deciding whether or not you want to shoot something, I would prefer not to have that look. Now, is this optic completely unusable on 10x? No, absolutely not. That's ridiculous. All that to say, the SIG Tango 1 to 10 certainly is one of the LPVOs of all time. Now, how is this rifle to shoot? Well, you know, once I got it working, it shoots like a dream. When this thing is perfectly gassed, it hardly recoils at all. I am a big fan of the 14.5 barrel. Yeah, it's really freaking similar to 16-inch, but it just feels good. And yeah, in conclusion, this has been a really, really solid rifle. Is it gonna hold up to the test of time? I really honestly can't sit here and tell you yes or no. I'm just gonna have to shoot it for like the next year and a half and then come back and make a follow-up video. Side note, I kind of put this set together today, and the whole Garand Thumb thing is fun, you know, with the black background, but this is kind of just a vibe. So I think this is going to be the new semi-permanent space for Basecamp, at least for the talking to camera videos. I'm gonna need to sound treat this room because it is a little bit echoey right now. But thank you guys so much for watching. I am really excited that any of you have stuck around to this point, and like always, you watching our content sincerely means the world to us. So not all of our videos are gonna be like this. This was just kind of a funny one-off. But sincerely, thank you guys for watching.
Just punch the piano, punch it. No, the wood back, the wood back. The spin was good, do another spin. Spin.
There's only 2 keys holding it in. If we have a couple seconds, I'll just undo it. I mean, there's literally just 2 flatheads holding it in.
Honestly, I would rather us not just waste time and get the shots because I think we're gonna start losing light fast.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just run through the song. And this is just the slow, dramatic playing of the keys. And let me make sure my angle. Holy crap. Holy crap. Oh, we got it. Oh, come look at this. Come look at that right now.
Well, we might have to take a pause here for a second,
Hell
fellas.
no. I won't quit because he didn't.
Did Taylor's rifle get fixed?
Yeah, I fixed it.
What was the problem?
Really bad mag load.
You told me to seat it.
Yeah, but like not with retard strength.
I'm sorry.
Jeez.
Oh.